Today is going quite well for the altcoins, but one altcoin is outperforming, and that is CRO, the token of the Cronos blockchain. The question is, how sustainable is this rally? Does it make sense to still buy this outperformer, or is this a potential pump and dump? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. Now today we are up 31% alone. We are currently at 20.7 cents. But I think it's problematic to look at charts like this, to just look at the US dollar valuation, because there's so much correlation within crypto. When Bitcoin and Ethereum is going up, then most of the altcoins go up as well. So really what we have to look at is at relative performance, as in how is Cronos doing long-term relative to the other altcoins. And that's what we see in this chart here. This is a long-term Cronos price, and we look at this in relation to the others market cap. So the market cap of the altcoins that are not in the top 10. Cronos is among those. We see that unfortunately the token tended to long-term underperform. This is a decline of almost 80%, and in the last 2.5 years we never went above the current relative valuation. We are very, very close to where Cronos historically pumped and subsequently dumped. The maximum drop had been from the beginning of November of last year to the beginning of March of this year. A relative underperformance of 63%. Now, just because we saw those kind of declines in the past doesn't necessarily mean that we have to see this again in the future. Is there maybe some kind of fundamental reason why Cronos might outperform the rest of the altcoins going forward? Let's have a look at the usage of the blockchain. This is the total value locked measured in US dollars. And during DeFi summer, we saw a lot of adoption. The maximum in capital on the chain was at $3.2 billion. Now we are only at roughly 600 million. But again, there's so much correlation within crypto, it's better to look at the total value locked measured in CRO tokens. You actually get a feeling of how much is the blockchain being used to completely eliminate the price movements of the CRO token itself. When we do that, we come to the following chart. And unfortunately, we do not see growth. Cronos saw most of its activity in the middle of July 2022, so a bit over 3 years ago. And since then, it tends to shrink. So there is a real reason why Cronos is doing worse than the rest of the altcoin market long term. But maybe there are some smart investors, some whales, right, the very heavyweights, that might be picking up the pieces now. Because in the end, crypto is all about buying low and selling high. And Cronos, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, is still comparatively low, even though it has recently rallied. Let's have a look at the ported version of the CRO token on the Ethereum chain. So there are almost 330,000 wallets that hold some part of Cronos. And again, that's on the Ethereum chain. But not all of those wallets matter, right? Some of them might just own a few cents worth of the token. So what you see on the left is the number of wallets that hold at least 5,000 CRO tokens. At the current price, it's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. In the middle, it's 50,000 tokens, or $10,000 worth of the token. On the right, another 10x, that's now $100,000 worth of the token. You can clearly see on those long-term charts that there's no accumulation for any of those wallet cohorts. The whales tend to be selling the fastest. They tend to be the main source of depressing the price, and they just continue doing so. Here are the transaction fees over time for the Cronos blockchain. So there was an update in May of 2022 where fees went down. Still, we don't necessarily see much growth in terms of activity. What we've got over here is the average transaction fee, again, a very similar development. And what we've got over here is the number of verified smart contracts per day. Again, there's no real long-term growth in the project. But maybe the valuation of Cronos is still relatively low. So let's have a look at, even though there is no growth on the blockchain, maybe there's still enough activity that justifies the current market cap. Let's have a look at the market cap relative to the activity and compare this to other blockchains. So here's an overview of centralized exchange tokens. So Cronos is the blockchain of Crypto.com. It's got a market cap of 7 billion. BNB is the token of Binance. And here we've got the Binance Smart Chain. And that's got a market cap of 120 billion. So it's roughly 20 times larger than Cronos, a bit less than that. On Cronos, in the last 24 hours, we saw 40 million worth of trading volume. So if Cronos is priced fairly relative to BNB, we'd now expect that the Binance Smart Chain trading volume is 20 times that. So that would be roughly 800 million. Do we see 800 million worth of trading volume? The answer is no. We see 8 billion. We see 10 times the trading volume. So either BNB is a steal and should be 10 times more expensive, or Cronos is very expensive and should only be 1/10 of the price. Or something in between, right? Maybe BNB can outperform and Cronos can underperform. But relatively speaking, Cronos is 10 times more expensive relative to BNB if we just look at the trading volume. Now, there are two major markets in crypto. There's the spot market, which of course gets dominated by Crypto.com for the Cronos token. We had 191 million worth of trading volume over there. But we've also got the bets on the price with leverage. And that's the perpetual futures. And here we had less trading volume. There was only 37 million worth of trading volume. So really, the current rally is driven by the spot market. Still, it makes sense to look at the bets on the price. Most people that speculate on Cronos with the perpetual futures are betting on rising prices. So there's a positive funding rate. Sometimes when we see a quick price spike, we tend to see some people betting on falling prices, but that doesn't always play out that well. Sometimes the price just continues rising. The open interest on Cronos, though, is peaking, and that is very concerning because this shows us that there is quite a bit of short-term leverage now in the price. There is a strong correlation between the spot market and the open interest on the perpetual futures. When there's a lot of short-term capital in the asset, the spot market tends to follow and goes up. When there's less bets on the price, the spot market tends to follow. And currently, we are at historical heights in terms of open interest. So when this deflates, this will also be selling pressure for spot. With trading volume, it looks very similarly, as in there is a positive correlation between trading volume and the spot price, and we are rather elevated here. With this rally, it's mainly the shorts that get liquidated, but I don't think that this is necessarily a short squeeze. I have the impression that somebody is just pushing up the price very quickly to garner some attention, hoping that some retail investors are going to buy at those inflated prices, to then afterwards potentially dump the price again. I do think that history will repeat itself. This chart pattern is likely going to stay. I think that betting on falling prices of Cronos is not a bad idea at all. The potential gain without any leverage at all could be 46%, potentially 51%, in the best case 57%. Again, we are just taking advantage of the very long-term trend because Cronos is an inflating asset. It's a cryptocurrency with an expanding token supply. Now, wherever there are patterns in price movement, there's a potential opportunity. A lot of people say that it's just random, that there's only luck involved in trading and in active investing. But really, once we have repeatable patterns, it's not. So let's look at this fundamental pattern. This is Dogecoin as an example. Very often, we see prices shooting up extremely quickly to then deflate over a very, very long time afterwards. So for whatever reason, the price moving up happens much faster than the price moving down. We see this in Dogecoin. We also see this in Floki Ino, right? Just have a look at how quick this rally happened and then how long it took to deflate again. And it doesn't just happen with meme coins, right? This is XRP. It went up quickly to then subsequently deflate for a very long time. Or here, right? The rally happened just in a matter of a few days. A secondary rally happened, but then again, the deflation took a long, long time. So there is obviously some kind of pattern here. And this is across the entire crypto space. And there is a fundamental reason for that. I believe that reason is attention. People say that we live in an attention economy and that attention equals money. And for crypto, that's exactly the case as well. As there is more attention on an asset, the price tends to go up. Now, why does it go up much faster than it tends to go down? Because usually there's some kind of event that happens that brings all the attention on an asset. So people read the news and they wonder, should I buy TON now? Should I buy XRP now? Should I buy YZY? Whatever it is, right? There's always something going on, and attention means potential purchases. There's also influencers that talk potentially about small cryptocurrencies that then bring a lot of purchase orders with it, right? When thousands of people watch a certain video on a small altcoin, then of course this has some implication on the price. And so we've got this overall capital pool that tends to grow over time, right? Crypto is still a growing market, but within that capital pool, it tends to concentrate towards a few assets at different points in time. Once there is attention on an asset, the price goes up, but then if there's no new news, then the attention tends to fizzle down and tends to go to the other assets. So it's a bit of a game of whack-a-mole, right? There's asset A that gets pumped up, then it's asset B, etc. And so this is where most people lose, right? Most people try to find the needle in the haystack, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 altcoins that made the multiple X returns, while the vast majority tends to go down. How likely is it that when you're buying the next recommended altcoin, that's going to be the next KeyCat or the next dog in me or the next GP token? The likelihood is rather low. You're probably ending up rather with Coino or with Memecoin or with the Apex token. If you're really honest with yourself, when you look at your altcoin trading and you compare that performance not to the US dollar, but relative to just the buying and holding Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana, how much did you actually outperform with the active trading? Very likely you underperformed. And again, this is because this is a rigged game. There are a few people that influence the market, that push up prices, and then over time those prices deflate again. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm trying to find the tokens that got hyped, but where then that hype is dying down, where we're already in the deflation. And then I bet on relative valuations that those kind of assets continue to do worse than Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana. So while the vast majority of retail investors, they just buy what the influencer has shilled, what the influencer is promoting, where the influencer potentially even got money to promote it, I do the exact opposite. I bet on falling prices at that time. So let's say Elon Musk tweets about Dogecoin again, Dogecoin pumps up, the retail investor gets in. That's when I put this on my watch list. And I'm looking at what point in time is it starting to deflate. And I bet on falling prices over here. Just have a look at what I shared on February 14th. I'm entering a Dogecoin relative to Bitcoin short position. Then 1 month later, I sold it. And that was because Dogecoin underperformed Bitcoin at that point by 32%. So that's what you want, right? You want underperformance when you bet on falling prices. There are a few details to this strategy, but it is a long-term winning approach. Just have a look at a few trades that our community has done. Now, I've actually opened a capital pool where the community members, the premium community members of this channel were able to pay in. This capital pool, unfortunately, has already been closed because we have hit our maximum deposit limit. We are still trading with this until end of the year. I will continue to share the performance here, but it just shows how constantly we can make money by doing the opposite of what most other people are doing. This is 1.5 months. The maximum drawdown from top to bottom was only 2.6%, and we are already at an annualized return of 78%. Before running this capital pool, I've done this approach myself on my own capital, and that's the return over the last 4 years. So this is just a chart from Excel. This is monthly data. Had I just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, I would have gotten the return here marked at this gray line. But because I also did shorts on very poorly performing altcoins, I got the return indicated here in black. And I know it can be a bit daunting at first, doing something completely different, going long one asset, going short another asset, doing an entirely different approach compared to just buying an altcoin, just following an influencer that promises you the next 10 or 100x. I know this is a different mindset, but again, we have to do the opposite of what most other people are doing. I created some tutorials to make this as easy as possible. If you want to keep it brief and you're busy, you just have to watch 2 videos. How to use perpetual futures on Hyperliquid and how to do risk management with relative valuation bets on Hyperliquid. It's only those 2 videos and they are in total just 1 hour in length roughly. After you have watched those 2 videos and you've joined the community, I will then send to you my favorite trade. Now that favorite relative valuation trade tends to go up quite consistently, and I've got a strong conviction that it will continue to do so. And because of that, if you enter that particular trade and you do not make money after 1 month of holding this trade, I will refund you 100%, no questions asked. I'll refund you for the premium membership. The monthly rate is currently $125 US. You can either pay via credit card, or if you want to pay in crypto, you can do that as well. For crypto payment though, the minimum duration is 3 months. But again, after 1 month, if you don't make money with that trade, I will just refund you. You can watch all the videos basically for free. And it's not just about the videos, it's also about the trades that I share in real time, where you can basically manually copy trade what's currently being done with the capital pool. Yes, the capital pool is currently closed, but if you join the annual membership, you will get the chance for early access to the next pool that will start at the beginning of next year. So if you don't want to invest the time, you instead just want to invest the capital, let this run for you. Then with the annual membership, you will get that offer first to join before the deposit limit is hit. A link to Premium should pop up directly over here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish these regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers.